Hello and welcome to this episode of the Handshake. My name is Amal Chowdhury and today we will be talking about the areas of foreign policy where India needs to focus on in 2020. The 2020s will see India become the world's third largest economy after the US and China. Even at a slower nominal growth rate of 10% per annum, India will cross Germany in 5 years and Japan in 7, closing the decade at $7 trillion. At 8% nominal growth rate, it will become the third largest economy by end of the decade. Even though the nominal GDP growth rate in the last quarter stood at 6.1%, it is believed this is a short-term blip that will change going forward, partly because of a global revival and partly due to domestic changes. A high and rising GDP can and does change international conversations and diplomatic calculations. In 1998, on a GDP of $421 billion, when India conducted 5 nuclear test explosions at Pokhran, the US and Japan imposed economic sanctions. China condemned it, while the UK, France and Russia held back. 7 years later, the same US signed the India-US Civil Nuclear Agreement in 2005 when India's GDP had more than doubled to $940 billion, and the same Japan supported it along with the UK, France, Russia and Germany. The sullen China, of course, condemned it. On a GDP of $2.7 trillion when the Indian Parliament abrogated Article 370, the sole voice that condemned it in the United Nations Security Council was China's. The outcome? China stood isolated as the US, the UK, France and Russia said it was an internal matter of India. Even Islamic nations, the relevant ones such as Saudi Arabia and UAE, not the insignificant ones like Turkey and Malaysia, steered clear of needling India. As India enters the 2020s, this is what it needs to look ahead for. The US on the go, make it fly. Clearly the most important relationship. India-US ties extend wide and deep from trade and economy to security and defense. Not always has the US been a dependable partner, but in the foreseeable future, the US relationship is here to stay. Be it around the Chinese hegemony in the region or markets, this relationship is crucial for both partners. China, not a friend, not yet an enemy. The biggest policy challenge in this decade would be to keep Chinese companies such as Huawei and ZTE out of India's 5G rollout. Between hectic lobbying by companies in the media and the security fraternity that hopes to secure India, we will see several debates going forward. Security will win, Huawei will be out, but the process of getting there will be long drawn and full of challenges. Managing the border will be another challenge, as its terrorist proxy Pakistan is more or less under control after Balakot attack. Russia and France expand the work in progress. These two members of the UNSC have been consistent in their relationship with India. Both have supported India in most decisions recently, defying China. Across the span of history, Russia has provided defense equipments to India. France is joining now. Their support has come within the confines of competitive forces from the US on the one side and India diversifying its defense procurement on the other. Neighborhood, Nepal, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka needs attention. Given that Bhutan, Maldives and Myanmar are on the course, the coming decade should see India step out and repair relationships with Nepal, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Being the bigger economy and a more influential nation, India must rethink these relationships and rebuild new bridges over water that has flown. We have needlessly allowed China to fill up the vacuum left behind by our indifference. A little diplomatic humility will go a long way in restoring past goodwill. Japan and Germany maintain and strengthen. The world's third and fourth largest economies, Japan and Germany, are nations that need a deeper engagement. The relationship with Japan is strategic and economic. It is strategic through the fledgling but upcoming quadrilateral security dialogue, and it is economic through investment and trade. Germany is a simpler relationship, resting more on trade, investments and technologies such as robotics than strategy or security. So this is it from this episode of The Handshake. For more such videos, keep watching MyNation.